Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto 10, Chapter 25, Text 17. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nahi sad-bhāva-yuktānāṁ surāṇām īśa-vismayaḥ matto satāṁ māna-bhaṅgaḥ praśamāyopakalpate. Since the demigods are endowed with the mode of goodness, the false pride of considering oneself, the Lord should certainly not affect them. When I break the false prestige of those bereft of goodness, my purpose is to bring them relief. Om Vijnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Taksu Unmulatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Right. So, greetings from, what do we call this ashram here?
Nava-Nilachara.
Nava-Nilachara ashram in
New Jersey.
Brick, New Jersey. A lot of devotees came from this area. Yeah, I just got back from Colombia last night. You know, I used to travel overnight, but they stopped that flight, so I went through Miami. My trip started at 4 a.m. in the morning to go to the airport. 7 o'clock flight, and get back about 5 and leave the airport about 6 or 7. And I have my karma, my samskaras, somehow with traveling. I don't know what I did in my last life. Maybe I was a horrible ticket collector. So I don't know what it was, but Chanakya Pandit says traveling makes a man old. Yeah, I was reflecting on that. Why? I mean, it's not a severe anxiety. It's not like debilitating, but there's just a little gnawing in the background every time I travel, with irrationality if I'll miss my flight. That's why I'm always so early. You know, I always leave earlier than normal people leave, even when they leave time. And I never have a good morning the next morning. And one thing in speaking I learned is if you don't have to speak about why you don't know what to speak, and maybe you can become empowered. Yeah, to me, I mean, to actually be able to speak, of course, there's some propensity, but one has to be well read, and one has to be hopefully in a good mood. Because I think memory has a lot to do with the mode of goodness. So I think those are important things. And those get thrown out the window when I travel. It's just so interesting. I think there's the mode of your consciousness, because I've studied so much, so there's so many things back there, and but it's more the mode of your consciousness that allows you to kind of access them. And the nature of realization is it just recedes so quickly if it's not kind of renewed. So Colombia was great for my bhajan. Just so regular every day. And then this morning it was sometimes only Yiddish words can express the depth of meaning. It was fakakta. It's kind of messed up. But I will try. And, and I'm finishing up this Govardhan Leela. And I think in one way I've been struggling with it because it's mostly Leela. And I like the intricate philosophical things. I think that's my forte. And then the Bhav. And I tell you, like, I by next Sunday, I think for sure, I'm going to start Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is just an incredible story of spiritual ascension. And I do plan on studying it very, very deeply. I'm not sure I'll go verse by verse, or maybe just summarize like 10, 15 verses every class. I'm almost tempted to burst into that now because it's such a great story of Narada Muni looking for the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy. And who is the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy? There's two things about mercy. You have to feel it and you have to attract it. And you need both. Like an entitled person will never feel kindness even though he gets it. And Krishna is responsive. So it's mercy, you don't deserve it, but you attract it by your consciousness. We all see that. If there's a person in need, it really pulls our heart out to help them. And if there's a proud person in need, it doesn't do the same thing. They may have the same need. But if there's an aggression or something like that, so the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy is certainly a worthy endeavor to find out. So stay tuned and look for that. Now, we're up in the part of the Govardhan Leela where the residents of Vrindavan literally have been tortured. And the commentators make a very interesting point about that. I think there's two interesting points about that. Their form of being tortured, which is exactly our form of being tortured, is a little different consciousness there, which you have to have a certain level of realization to understand. So we shouldn't think, no, they're not being tortured, but we shouldn't think they're being tortured like us. But there's something happening in terms of Leela that's extremely important. And the Acharyas say that food is tasting, it tastes the most when there's, hunger. That's why those with prema don't think they have prema, because prema, love of Godhead, is a desire. And just like when you don't have food, you desire food. When you don't have love and you realize that you desire that love, and that desire for the love is the love. So you always have to, always in spiritual life, there's that hankering. I want. It has to be I want. So one has to have some sense of lack. Bhakti is I want Krishna. It never stops. And then there's a purvata never before. The experience of Krishna is never before, always new. And Chatmutkara, astonishing and wonderful. So to the experience of Krishna's shelter, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very interesting definition of shelter. Well, not an interesting, it's a definition, it's your home. So figure out your home. Like yesterday, I'm riding from the airport, everything is, I don't know, hunky-dory. I don't know if that language is still used. But when everything was nice, when I grew up, it was hunky-dory. And it just looked ideal. I mean, my flight was really nice. Everything went really smoothly. By the mercy of Rasi Mohan, there's an app where you get a digital passport. You just have to, you have to wait on long lines. It's not the global entry, but it's still the Miami airport was very efficient. I got there, had 2 hours between flights, and I got there an hour before. And then I had to wait a little bit because Jack works on Saturday, so I had to wait a little bit. But the airport was really a nice thing, and I had all access to the internet. I was able to do my work. And we were riding back so pleasantly. And then, bing, emergency alert for tornado. Immediately take shelter in your basement. And if you don't have a basement, go to a place. And they were riding, what are we going to do? We're riding on the car, right? Padam, padam, yati padam, nate sham. There's danger at every step in this material world. I'm going to write my next Monday morning greetings, I think, on something like that, because I was riding in the plane and saying, look, I'm traveling to such beautiful places with such beautiful people. I'm so fortunate. But always in this material world, there's a little anxiety because, you're not the controller. And I tell you, my traveling, what if I miss the plane? What if I don't have enough time? And there's always something, because we're not the controllers of the world. Not only we can't be the enjoyers, but we're in anxiety about it. And then bing. And then Jack said, it's a tornado. It's like being hit by lightning. It's not like Texas with their tumbleweed. And then all of a sudden, we were caught in the eye of the storm. What a torrential, it was Govardhan Leela. It was Govardhan Leela. I mean, the rain was, and the winds were so heavy. So, couldn't wait to get to the house. It had a basement, but I couldn't wait to get to the house. It's surāṇām, it's shelter. Your house is shelter because it's organized to support you. So God is organized to support you. Except we don't realize that. That's where we should be taking shelter, Sharanagati. God is organized to support you physically, emotionally, in every way. But he really wants to give you the real shelter, which is the eternal shelter, which is our relationship with him. That's ontologically how the world is created. There is a God. And if you think about intellectually, it's probably the best proposition. Otherwise, there'd be many people competing or whatever. But one person is absolute, all good and omniscient, which controls and reciprocates things so that everybody can share equally in his glory and love. That's the way. That's the real Sharanam. That's the shelter. And then sometimes it says Krishna creates this difficulty to open our hearts to experience that, to experience his mercy more, which in Krishna Lila just increases the bliss more. And in the material world, it increases the faith more. But that's where our shelter is. There's no other hope. I think the world is mercifully pushing people to surrender more and more because it appears less and less control. What the future is so much less certain than before. It's so rapidly changing, including values, even simple values. What is a man? What is a woman? Things are changing so rapidly, fundamental principles of life. So many things are changing. And what will it be like in the future? What to speak of economically and inflation and wars, and who knows who's controlling what? Who knows who's the demon, who's the controller, who's the enemy? The enemy may be the friend may be the enemy. The friend may be the enemy may be the enemy. That sweetness of taking shelter of God is our only shelter. Our only shelter. Everything else, deha patya kalitradishu atmasanyesh vasatsvapi pashanapi napashyati. Deha, body, apatya, family, kalitradishu atmasanyesh vasatsvapi. These we look at as our army. We look at these things as our army, it says in the Bhagavatam. This is our army. This is our army. And it's described, it's fallible soldiers because it hasn't protected anyone. It's lost. It's lost. We always lose. Pashanapi napashyati. Although we see, we're not seeing the reality of the world. I just spoke to Satyaraj Prabhu yesterday, grieving a bit. His mother, who was 103, passed away. And then I knew what was going to happen. When that happens, you're next. As long as the mother and father are there, you don't really worry about these things. But when they go, you're next. And it's tough. Unless you have transcendental knowledge. And that is the gift that Srila Prabhupada gave us, and we should take advantage of it and assimilate it. And by the way, there's people that are here that are listening, and I get a lot of nice feedback from disciples and others that listen to the tapes afterwards. So really, thank you all. I like to hear who's listening. It gives me a perspective of the audience. Yeah, so now Krishna is going to explain, I'm not only protecting the residents of Vrindavan who are undergoing the aggression and torture, the aggression and torture of Indra, but he's going to protect Indra. He's going to bring relief to Indra. He's bringing relief not just to the victim, but to the perpetrator. because often the perpetrator suffers as much as the victim on a psychological platform. I was just meditating on that too, because I get involved in politics and internet. And I just think how sad it is. People whose existence is criticizing others, how much they must be suffering, how much they must be tortured. Really. So he said the demigods, they shouldn't have this abhiman, this false conception that they're the controllers, because they're the servants of Krishna. And they're in goodness. And when you're in goodness, there's clarity of thought, and you should see more clearly that God is the controller and how the world works. You shouldn't fall into such illusion. But they shouldn't do this. But when false prestige of those bereft of goodness, false prestige of those bereft in goodness, false prestige of those bereft of goodness. So our modes make us prideful. We don't understand the sweetness of humility, the sweetness of having shelter, surāṇām, a home, of having God, the sweetness of that, the sweetness of you are my protector, not the sweetness I am the controller and the enjoyer, but the sweetness I am the servant of God. The relief of not having that false prestige. I'm the center, I'm the controller, all the things that we're trying to get. The relief. And here Krishna says, my purpose is to bring them relief. I will bring those people relief by destroying their prestige. And isn't that what's happening to us in our whole life? Isn't that our history? God giving us relief from our false prestige. And of course, sometimes we say, would you mind choosing someone else next time? I told that joke before where this old Jewish guy goes to God and he's going to be allowed into the, heaven. But they check his name, you qualify. He said, before I go, I need to speak to the person in charge. They said, no, just take it. No, I need to speak. So God comes, and he's Jewish, so they were chosen. So he says to God, is it true that we're the chosen people? And God said, yes. Then he looks at God and points his finger and says, would you mind choosing someone else next time? But we all know the forms of God's mercy to give us relief from the conception, the false conception we have to maintain that I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller. And it's relief because we're in anxiety, we're going to lose it because we're not the controller and enjoyer. It's relief to give up that conception. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking that there would be one hell. Because I'm at Jack's house, and he had a lot of problems when he went in the Miami airport. Because somehow that airport's one of the most crowded in the world. I mean, Miami is such a place that every high-class person in Latin America visits Miami. Now the Russians the rich Russians are in Miami now too. Everyone's in Miami, and the flights from South America just pouring into Miami. So there was so many people. And then if you have luggage, it's and you have to pick up the luggage. But it's actually extremely organized, I found. Of course, I had this digital thing I just went through. You have to wait in custom. But it's because you go right past the customs, and then right there, right on the other side is the baggage claim. No, it's the security. And the security is that they finally figured out a system how this works. Most places are just chaos, but they have these double things with these big trays. So you put your thing in a big tray, and then, they pull it out, and then it goes on the thing, and it's just very efficient. And you wait on a line to get there, but once you get there, it's very efficient. You go right to the thing and get through, and then right after that is the baggage thing. And then if your baggage gets up, you just bring it to this right there. You just leave it, and they put it on the plane next. So it's kind of efficient. I just had walk-on, so I went through. But when I was thinking, I was worried because I have a program today at Jack's at 2 p.m. And I just thinking, what if I don't get through? There was like a hell. What if I don't get through on time? I made it within I had 2 hours. I had an hour before boarding. That's how quick I went through. What if I don't get through? What if? What if Krishna's God, and as my service, I have to stay in Miami? We don't like that. But someone is a devotee of God. Whatever Krishna wants, I'm kinkari. What you want, kinkari means gopi. Again, what you want, I will do. What you want, I will do. And to develop that faith and love and invest our consciousness in I am a servant. I'm a servant. To actually put happiness in that feeling of love rather than that feeling of control and enjoyment. That's our struggle in life. I'm speaking this from realization. I was thinking it was like a hell. What if but why should it be that? It's what Krishna wants. And it's not even a big hell. You want big hell? Go to Ukraine, have a 21-year-old son. Now he's in the war. There's like a high percentage of people that die. Of course, America can never be in another war. None of us are going to fight. We're all cowards now. There's no more patriotism, whether it's right or wrong. But, before, it's like, America, we're 100 million strong. And we believe. We used to sing these songs at school. We used to sing these songs. But previously, whatever it is, that's I always explain. My parents, mine was the me generation. Theirs was the greatest generation. My father went, my uncle went, my other uncle went. They went to fight for freedom against the, Nazi Germany and, whatever. And they were willing. They were volunteering. They were, they were volunteering. There was some or other, there were principles that there was something greater than yourself. Then came my generation. It was the me generation. There's nothing greater than me. So we'll go on. I must therefore protect the cowherd community by my transcendental potency, for I am their shelter, I am their master. Indeed, they are my own family. After all, I have taken a vow to protect my devotees. This is where the Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes from the Anekarta Varga dictionary. Sharanam Griha Rakshita, the word Sharana can represent either home or protector. Isn't that interesting? Shelter. Sharanam. I felt that yesterday. Jack, how many more minutes here? We're going to get, the tornado is going to lift our car up. And then, wow, we saw that Govardhan Leela. That rain was so thick and so dark.
Mm-hmm.
We ran in the house, baked some sweet potatoes because it was a Ekadasi. I like to fast, but not when I travel. So this is Bhav. Having said this, Lord Krishna, as Vishnu himself, picked up Govardhan Hill with one hand and held it aloof easily as a child holds up a mushroom. And is described by a mystic potency. It was clear the way. So there was no rain from Krishna's house. I was describing this on Wednesday. Some people in both classes, that bhav of Krishna being in your village and watching him walk when he comes home in the evening, walk by your door and see his baharpidam natavarabapu, see his peacock feather and his garland. And see him walk right by your door. Oh, Krishna's coming back. Having that person in your village who's all attractive and perfectly reciprocates you, because all these people have a relationship, which means Krishna knows every single person and reciprocates perfectly with them according to their relationship. So that's our conception of the spiritual world, that there are perfect relationships of love with the perfect person. And we're not disappointed, and we're not abused, we're not exploited, we're not neglected, we're not disappointed. And there's no narcissistic tendencies. And everybody's happy for everyone else. Oh, what a lousy world. Krishna want to say, well, you really want to stay here? You really want to stay here? Of course, I actually like it. It's very peaceful here, South Jersey. You're still in distance of some action. But we're having a nice program here too. Jai Jagannath's coming from New York. I heard even Hari Kirtan Elizabeth may try to come up. I think Jack told me that. He found that out. Anyway, it'll be a nice group. It's a little bit south, so not going to be everyone. But it's great. That's our joy. That's our shelter. Our shelter is community of devotees, because where the devotees are there, that's the shelter of Krishna. And we feel that. Doing kirtan and taking prasad together. Without that, there's no shelter in this world. Thank God, at least we have it here. And we have a growing community of devotees gradually. And we're not anymore losing the old ones. More or less, they're coming back because they're finding a nice Sanga. And then Krishna ran, and Krishna's potency is everyone was protected, even on top of the hill, not a blade of grass, not an ant. Even the animals were starting going back on top of the hill, and the whole village fit in the hill. And nothing on Krishna was disturbed. It's not that he came in there soaking wet with his tilak, and the peacock feather blew up. The peacock feather. I think that's a proof of God, because when I went to college, there was that definition, that being of which no greater that can be conceived. And I can't conceive of a Supreme Lord better than one with a peacock feather, and a threefold bending form, and lotus eyes. The Lord then addressed the cowherd community. O mother, O father, O residents of Vrindavan, if you wish, you may now come under this hill with your cows. Vrajko Shuka, Amba, Tata, hey, Mba, hey mother, hey Amba, Tata, hey mother, hey father, Vrajao Krishna, O residents of Vrindavan. Yata Upajosham, if it suits your pleasure. Vishita, please enter Giri, this hill. Kartam, the empty space together. So go together with your cows. So beautiful. You should have no fear that this mountain will fall from my hands. And don't be afraid of the wind and rain, for your deliverance from these afflictions has already been arranged. Just like yesterday, I knew Krishna would save us from the tornado and the hurricane but it's scary. Bing, emergency, please get in your basement. I said, what is this? Kansas? This is New Jersey. Come on. The whole reason to come to New Jersey is so you don't have tornadoes. You don't have to worry about tornadoes. Like upstate New York is freezing cold, but they don't have hurricanes like Miami. They don't have tornadoes. Every place has its positive and negative. Yeah, like in Colombia, I didn't go, but Shyam Sundar Jai Jagannath and Nasik Mohan, like about 50 years or 40 years ago or something, I don't know, a long time ago. This American guy was traveling around South America. He put a Volkswagen bus on a boat or something, I forgot. And then he liked Kali and he went into the mountains and stayed there with nothing for the rest of his life. Even they say to get there, you have to go under a rickety bamboo bridge and you have to, and they said it's beautiful, so many birds, and the guy just lives off the land. So I thought, wow, that's one way to do it. Mm-hmm. Because you eliminate all the other problems except your mind and your attachments. But sometimes, and that's impersonalism. Because impersonalism is, let me just be peaceful, and the best way to be peaceful is to annihilate everything. Annihilate everything else, be peaceful. I remember when I did this at Gita Nagari, one year, like 45 years in India, it's Kartik, I was in Gita Nagari, and I had a beautiful festival. And we made a beautiful Govardhan hill in the cabin. And everybody was coming. All my disciples were coming. It was fantastic. And Seva Priya made these mint chocolate sweets that were the pebbles. And Franklin from 108, he was very faithful and dedicated to me. Wonderful. I really love Franklin. But he always had a heavy mind. So I was so fired up. I said, if you go around Giriraj, everyone will fulfill your desires. And Raghunath was there and other people were there. They will paint their Dandavat Parikram. And I said, oh, all your desires will be fulfilled. And then after everybody left, I saw Franklin go around the hill. And he said, no, he went the last. And he looked at me and said, it doesn't work. I said, why? He said, everyone's still here. Everyone's still here. That was his, that weight of the mind and the problems. Their minds thus pacified by Lord Krishna, they all entered beneath the hill. where they found ample rooms for themselves and all their cows, wagons, servants, and priests, and for all other members of the community as well. Lord Krishna, forgetting hunger and thirst and putting aside all consideration of personal pleasure, stood there holding up the hill for 7 days as the people of Vraja gazed upon him. So her hunger, thirst, mostly in the mind. If your mind's someplace else, you don't feel that. And we know we have anxieties and ailments, and we're not constantly feeling them in the same way, because ultimately all feelings are in the mind. So if the mind's not put someplace, then you won't feel something. But when we're conditioned and the external is so powerful, it will draw the mind there. But a very powerful yogi can extract themselves. And that's what was happening in the Bhagavatam. They were so absorbed. They were so absorbed in Krishna-katha that there was no hunger or thirst. They were just so much enjoying. Like, I didn't get to fast in Ekadasi. I'm thinking maybe Monday I'll fast. I like to fast, just clean out my body after travel. And but then I'm thinking, okay, I got to, let me get some real good stuff that I do. Get the best books, call a few people, and keep myself. Then you don't feel the hunger. So, when Indra observed this exhibition of Lord Krishna's mystic power, he became most astonished. Pulled down from his platform of pride and his intentions thwarted, he ordered the clouds to exist. So it's quite a shock. He gave his best blow and nothing happened. The Sambantarka clouds, the clouds of universal destruction, where the water is like pillars, the winds, it's a stage 10 hurricane, and nothing happened. Then he realized, because he had that background. A lot of times we have the knowledge, but we forget it. And only when our false egos are crushed does it come to the forefront of our consciousness. That's why Krishna is trying to help us remember. And sometimes it's like a fever. We become absorbed. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto Shrivir. Yeah. Seeing that the fierce wind and rain had now ceased, the sky had become clear of rain clouds, and the sun had risen, Lord Krishna, the lifter of Govardhan Hill, spoke to the cowherd community as follows. Lord Krishna said, "My dear cowherd men, please go out with your wives, children, and possessions. Give up your fear. The wind and rains have stopped, and the river's high waters have subsided." After collecting their respective cows and loading their paraphernalia into their wagons, the cowherd men went out. The women, children, and elderly persons gradually followed them. While all living creatures looked on, the Supreme Personality of God had put down the hill in its original place, just as it had stood before. All the residents of Vrindavan were overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and they came forward and greeted Sri Krishna according to their individual relationships with him, some embracing him, others bowing down to him, and so forth. The cowherd women presented water mixed with yogurt and unbroken barley corns as a token of honor, and they showered auspicious benedictions upon him. So according to the relationship, there are different actions. And if you do an action that is not suited to your relationship, it diminishes the love rather than increases it. Like if Prabhupada comes in and you put your hand on his head and say, nice boy. I can't, it's like, I've been saying that. But if Prabhupada looks at you and says, nice boy, or you say that to your child, so the actions have to be commensurate with the bhava. And they're perfectly done that in Krishna Lila. So everyone is expressing their love and increasing their love in the appropriate ways. Mother Yasoda, Mother Rohini, Nanda Maharaj, and Balaram, the greatest of the strong, all embraced Krishna. Overwhelmed with affection, they offered him blessings. In the heavens, O king, all the demigods, including the siddhis, sadhyas, gandharvas, and charanas, sang the praises of Lord Krishna and showered down flowers with great satisfaction. So there's subtle levels of communication with the Paramatma. And people are connected with it, and it's better than internet. So they know when something's happening with Krishna, and they all come. My dear Parikshit, the demigods in heaven resoundingly played their conch shells and kettle drums, and the best of the Gandharvas, led by Tunguru, began to sing. Surrounded by his loving cowherd boyfriends and Lord Balaram, Krishna then went off to the place where he had been tending his cows. The cowherd girls returned to their homes, singing joyfully about the lifting of Govardhan Hill and other glorious deeds performed by Lord Krishna that so deeply touched their hearts. So he's the hero. You can't chant about your boyfriend, especially in that culture when you don't have boyfriends. You don't chant about their boyfriends. And, but you can chant about the hero. And then, then people won't know it's your boyfriend, but you'll get the same pleasure from chanting it. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 25th chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled, Lord Krishna Lifts Govardhan Hill. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do next Wednesday, because only half of you were there. But I think next Sunday we'll start Bhagavatamrita, and we'll have a really nice journey with that book. I don't know if Jamuna Jaya is here to start.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. It always amazes me, Maharaj, when you start off, oh, I'm not sure, I've traveled. And then you just, it's such a wonderful class.
Well, that's a trick. That's a trick. You go with your weakness. That's a trick that I use.
It's every time.
I was surprised myself because my sadhana this morning was 1/10 of what it was in Kali. I was up after 5 hours, peacefully rested, 1:30, doing my deity worship, then chanting prayers, then reading Bhagavatamrita, then writing, then chanting for a couple of hours, and then sitting down and eating the most luscious fruit I've ever tasted in my life. They had this dragon fruit, and sometimes which was yellow on the outside, and inside it was like silver with black seeds. And I get these big chunks of it, and it was so sweet. So that was the fruit that was in season at that time. And what to speak of the papaya? I'm here in Jersey. I'm not even. You think I'm going to take a papaya in Jersey? There's no such thing as a papaya in Jersey. There's no such thing as a banana in Jersey. Organic blueberries and organic apples. Otherwise, all other fruit is a fraud. Okay, okay,
I really like the point you said at the beginning about, the material world does such a good job of pushing us towards surrender. And I'm just sort of really reflecting on that. It does its job very well, and we should take the lessons from it, pushing us in the right direction. So I really appreciated that.
I hope so. Thank you.
You're welcome, Raj.
Anybody else like to ask a question, share a reflection? Say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Yamala Tarada.
Haribo. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
So the weather there now is good again, huh?
Yes, it's getting colder, but it's nice. It's really nice.
Oh, it's getting colder now.
Well, it's autumn here now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. But so much light.
Yeah.
So much. Okay. Okay, great to see you. Now, Devi Shakti is also going to go on Jai Jagannath's retreat, his Dandavat Parikram retreat. I'll be right there. I'm not going to go, but I'm going to be right there. They'll probably visit us for prasadam, and you have your room saved in the guest house there. So, and then you just stay. You'll stay up all the way to Puri and beyond.
I wish.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see if I can convince this guy.
What's that?
I just need to convince this guy.
Hey, Shyam Kishore, no respect. No respect.
No respect, Maharaj. No.
Okay. Okay. Haribo, great to see both of you.
Likewise,
Maharaj.
Thank you for
really
listening.
Love how you always engage Krishna in material world.
How you see Krishna in the material world in any circumstance.
In the Yurakam.
Thank you. Nice comment. Thank you, Shyam Kishore. Very well. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Oh, Catalina. So nice to see you.
So nice to see you again.
Thank you for the class coming. Good. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your words, Maharaj.
Thank you. Great. Wonderful to see you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here.
Kishore Radha.
We'll see you today. Bring those cupcakes.
We'll see you soon.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Slal Govinda.
And Braja, thank you for class.
We'll also see. We're going to have a nice, it's not going to be too big, so that but there'll be quite a few people there. And it'll be just a wonderful gathering, and great. Just to hear Jai Jagannath's kirtans will be such a wonderful thing. I'll say a few words. I'm not going to speak much. I like when we empower new guests. Okay. Okay, Haribo. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Srila.
Whoa, great. This is your day off. Thank you.
Yes, I'm coming.
Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada. Wonderful. Good. Anybody else? Okay, we will end for today. Thank you all so much. Okay, Amala, Hare Krishna. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Anybody else before I go? Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Shri-Rupa, thank you for class.
So I guess we'll see you today.
Definitely.
Are you bringing those chapatis?
I am.
Wow. Okay. Bring a lot of them. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I should have a week sadhana in the morning and get better classes and be more jolly. But anyway. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Champa Kamala.
Oh,
excited to see you today.
Great. You're up and listening to the class live. Great.
I'm awake at 9 a.m.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm usually awake at 9 a.m. Guru Maharaj.
Okay, we'll see you today.
See you today, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, hi, but we'll end now. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha.